Hello, everyone. This is Michele Payn, and I am in West Central Indiana. I want to wish you a happy National Agriculture Day. And I have one of my dearest friends with me in agriculture, a fellow professional speaker, a wonderful woman, Jolene Brown, coming at us from Iowa. How are you, Jolene?
I couldn't be better. Happy National Ag Day, not just to you and me, but to all of us who work in agriculture and depend on agriculture.
Exactly. And I sure appreciate you joining us today, Jolene. I really wanted us to be together on this Agriculture Day to hopefully be able to offer some tools to show some compassion to the human beings of agriculture, because as I know you share, I'm really concerned about what the stressors are in agriculture today and the results that are happening with people's mental health on farms and ranches and agribusinesses. So my hope is that we can have a great discussion today. And I know from talking to you over all the years and being raised in a farm family myself, that family sometimes is the greatest stressor that there is. Right.
Mm-hmm. There's nothing better or worse than family, so we opt for, let's deal with the worst and the stresses that come with it so that we can get to the better.
Yes. So to get to the meat of the matter, what are 3 quick tips that you would have to be able to overcome some of the stress related to family business communications?
Well, there's a platinum rule out there that says, do unto others as they want done unto them. Now, you and I are fixers, okay? We see what's wrong. We know what can be done. And by golly, why aren't you doing it? But the platinum rule says we have to see things from their perspective and not ours. And what I find and I'm learning is that everybody has this tipping point. And the tipping point that pushes you to a high level of stress and sometimes some really sad or negative results have to do with the decisions you make or don't make, the actions that you are taking or don't take, and the responsibilities and the expectations you are carrying. So I'm asking me and the rest of us who are in agriculture, be careful of the expectations you put on other people. Mm-hmm. I have so found that the most important question I can ask is if I'm at a live event, which I just love, or even when they're calling me on the phone, is the question, and what's your story? And we just need to listen and ask so we get a feeling of their perspective. I've also found that even though you and I can see the journey, what ought to be done, sometimes the most we can do is the next step. And I will tell you, when I've had somebody call and they're showing me through conversation that maybe suicide has been in their thought, and I actually use that word with them, sometimes the next step is simply, can you tie your shoe? Or can you count to 10? You see, goals can only be set for as far as you can see. And if your load is so heavy, you got to move a little of that out to let a little bit of sunshine in. Mm-hmm. And so I'm asking us to see things from their perspective and not ours, even those of us who want to fix things. Mm-hmm. That's really important. So that's the first tip. The second one is silence is the great destroyer of family and business. And that means communication is the bloodstream. And I'm just like everybody else on this broadcast here. And that is, the more I have to communicate with family members, the more I like cows. I don't like that lady. I'm going to send her to market.
I have no comment that I can possibly offer.
But I can't do that with moms or dads or sisters or brothers. And so communication is the bloodstream. And here's what I'm learning. The more clarity you can have in a family business, the better it is. And with family, more, not less, has to be in writing. So one of the webinars I've been doing a lot this year is, why do we have to meet? We see each other every day. See, meetings, some people hear that word meeting, which is a form of communication, and they already take the antacid, or everybody gets so emotional, or it's such a waste of time. But I have found that positive and productive meetings are one of the lowest cost, highest returns you can have to relieve your stress and in a family business. So when I'm talking meetings, I'm talking about, yes, there's family stuff that you do, and it's a family council and it's a family business, but then there's that business part that needs clarity. And the one I have found, the type of meeting that helps more with stress, is what I call the morning huddle. This is where, even if you are by texting or by FaceTime Live or anything, however you're communicating, if you just will check in, but I kind of have face-to-face, I don't just want words typed. so that we can find out, what are you up to today? Do you need my help? How can I help you do your job better? I mean, isn't that a neat question? But I find the more clarity we have, the more we can put things into a perspective and do all that production that we want to do.
Mm-hmm.
So the morning huddles will help you do your jobs better, will give the clarity. These are sometimes, they're quarterbacked, by the way, by whoever is a leader or manager. And it might be as simple as, okay, we're getting into planting season. So what field are we going to start in today? Do we got the equipment ready? Who needs to be there? What else is going on in the background? Oh, that field's too wet. Let's talk about this field. You know, these are maybe 15, 20-minute gatherings, but boy, it takes some of the load off here of all the guessing and all the wondering and wishing to what it is we're actually going to do. And doing is better than drifting. So the second one is silence is the great destroyer. And I guess I'll say it right now. If there's someone who's becoming quieter and quieter, or the other behavior change, the big outburst, that is an important sign that we're going to have to find out what's their story, what's going on, and get us back to the first point, which is see things from their perspective, not ours. And then the third thing is, oh my gosh, when I work with family, there's always conflict. You know, if dad would just give up control, if mom would say what's on her mind, if those kids just had a work ethic, well, if he hadn't married her, we'd be okay. You know, there's always conflict out there in family business, and you live and you work with these buggers. And I will tell you, it's a challenge. Now, I got to ask you, Michele, are you happy or married?
Am I happy or married? I'm happily married. How about that?
Well, there are
who's watching. I better say that.
There are days when I've said to my husband, you know, divorce is not good enough. I just want to kill you and feed your remains to the dog. That's when I've had my level. I'm at my tipping point. I put him in his box far away from me, and then I manage my stress in a different way. But conflict, oh my gosh, what I found is that if you have clarity in how you're going to deal with conflict at the mosquito bite level, so we don't have volcanic eruptions or a very personal, desperate result, then we have ways to deal with conflict. And there's a very simple process. If we have time later on during this, I can go through that. But what I find is that there are things that just need to roll off your back. And you better have some things that create white space for you personally. For me, it's digging in the dirt in the garden, or for me, it's making bread. Boy, when I need that bread, you know, I'm pushing. I'm going, I must improve my bust, but nevertheless, you know, I got to have fun while I'm doing this, right? But you see, those all give me some white space. It puts other things into perspective. And I've also found when my load is really heavy, I make myself concentrate on just one thing. So right now, I was given beautiful flowers yesterday, and I spend 45 seconds. I look at my watch, 45 seconds, and the only thing I look at are those flowers. And I want you to know something. While you are concentrating for 45 seconds on something, there's stuff that happens in your brain, which we're not going to go into today, but what it does, you weren't concentrating on everything that's wrong, everything you can't do, the load that you're carrying. And that little break in our engrams, our brain pathways, can let us sometimes take a different pathway. So those are the 3 tips that I would have for us to help us recognize that stress is a part of who we are and what we do in agriculture, and that there are ways that we can begin to cope and maybe improve on it.
Interesting. And Jolene, one of the things that we covered yesterday in the first live stream on stress management for agriculture was the fact that science actually does prove that stressors impact our brain rather dramatically. And it's science. It's not woohoo. It's there. The data is there. So I love the 45-second. But to summarize your points real quickly, so you see things from their perspective, understand that silence is the great destroyer, and that conflict is just reality and a part of life. So great tips. Thank you for sharing those. And hello to everyone who has joined us. We welcome you. We are delighted you are here. If you have questions for Jolene, if you want to share any of your farm family business communication stories and tips, feel free to do so in the comments. Jolene, what signs of stressors do you see out there as you are talking to hundreds of farm families? I know you probably have worked with thousands of them through the years. So if there were some stressors that people could look for to understand those that may be in peril in their lives, what would those stressors look like?
Well, for me, it certainly is a change in behavior. And as I mentioned before, my husband is a quiet person, but he married a speaker. I got him.
Wait. Do you ever say to your husband, you really should listen to me. People pay me to speak. It doesn't go over well. Don't do it.
Yeah, I've told him I get paid for talking. It's the same kind of a thing, right? Well, but if he becomes quieter, I cannot make the assumption that he's not okay. Mm-hmm. What I know is sometimes he's processing a whole bunch of stuff. You see, he thinks to solve a problem, and I talk to solve the problem. That's what I mean. You have to do unto others as they want done unto them. Mm-hmm. But I also see if the sighing comes in, if he's sleeping more or less, if something which might be a daily thing becomes a trigger for the other type of behavior, which might be the outburst or something irrational that doesn't make sense, then it's time to say, what's your story? And sometimes not out loud. Sometimes you just have to do it in your mind, because again, we want to fix things. We see a solution. So I'm looking for that type of behavior change. The second thing I'm looking for is what type of resources have I made available to people? Is it my listening ears? Is it my time? Is it my appreciation? Is it my caring or understanding? Is it, as I said to someone not too long ago, I think you have a sore throat. And he said, no, I don't. I said, yes, you need to go to your family doctor. And it's hard to get in during COVID. I get that. Okay. And so if you're talking to the receptionist and they say, and why do you want to need to see a doctor? And you say, well, I'm just unsettled, or I feel anxious, or sometimes we say nothing. I just need to see a doctor. You don't get an appointment. Mm-hmm. But if you got a sore throat, let me tell you, you're going to get an appointment. And then, so tell a lie. Okay, get your appointment. Because I talked to my family doctor and I said, what do we do? These farmers who are fiercely independent, and they're silent people, and they're strong people, and yet something's not right. What can I do? What can others do? And he said, get them to come and see me. And they recently had, well, they have one a month gatherings on Zoom of family doctors in our area. Mm-hmm. And they have noticing that we've got to get people in to talk about their stress, because as Sarah said yesterday, so exceptionally and eloquently, that there is a time to reach out, a counselor, an advisor, a family physician, whether it be for medical care or something for your nutrition or something for exercise or something to give you white space. Mm-hmm. There are professionals that can do it. And I think, Michele, that's why when you and I get done speaking, here comes the herd, okay? And they all want to tell their story, and underneath it is usually a question. Mm-hmm. And the trick now is trying to do that virtually, but you and I have both had the chance to go live with audiences recently, and what a gift. And I will tell you something, nobody wants to leave when you're done, because they too are so hungry for human interaction.
Exactly. Humans need humans. I mean, that has been so blatantly obvious whenever I've been at live events.
Mm-hmm. And it's easy for me to say that sometimes farmers and ranchers and growers are stupid, because we will take care of everything else, and you've said it so well. You take care of the animals when they need it. You take care of the plants when they need it. Yeah. But then who's taking care of us? And what we're going to talk to pretty soon is then who's taking care of me. Mm-hmm. It's an individual responsibility we have.
Yeah. And I think that's particularly hard for females, but really for anyone in agriculture, business comes first, animals come first, family comes first, crop comes first, harvest comes first. And at some point we have to equip ourselves with the tools for that self-care. I love the white space idea. I know personally I need more margins in my life, more white space to find that peace. And I know that can be extremely difficult if you're on a farm and you're dealing with everything that comes with that. That is a great tip for people of agriculture. What type of daily communications, aside from the meeting, aside from the tribal gathering, what type of daily communications practices do you think that any family business should be implementing as part of their business plan to manage stress?
Well, the top one for me is we have to demonstrate appreciation. And we just make so many assumptions in agriculture. I'll tell you when you do it wrong, not when you've done it right. And I so admire my office manager. We were talking yesterday about personality differences, and our grandsons came for the first time since Christmas. So I got to see them.
Oh,
And my youngest grandson is out in the kitchen. He's saying, Mom, I need some help. And she said, let's pretend I'm not here. How would you solve the problem? And I said, Grandma's here. What do you need?
Isn't that the truth?
So demonstrating appreciation is letting other people feel the worthiness of what they are doing, not just what we see. And so I don't know how long it's been. I'm in family businesses all the time. That they've just not said, gosh, I wouldn't even have a chance to be in agriculture if it weren't for you. Or, man, I wouldn't deal with all this technology crap if you weren't here. Or, man, we made it through this. Let's celebrate. It's that need to pause to applaud all that we have done. But you can't just pause. I've got to hear some words. You know, if you were working for someone else, not in the family, and your method of communication was rolling your eyes, slamming doors, cussing and swearing, and walking away, you'd be fired. But in our family business, we tend to do the same thing with assumptions. Well, they should know, or what's wrong? You know, I get out of my way. I can do it faster. We are always trying to do something and not letting the people feel the worthiness of their growth, of what they're doing. And by the way, growth happens at any age or stage in life. And I think that knowing that we're always a student, but a student who is grateful with a grateful heart and kindness is really, really important.
I think that there is a lot of lack of appreciation, shall we say, whether it's in the family. I know one of the things personally that gets a lot of farmers and ranchers really frustrated is the lack of appreciation from consumers, and not just the lack of appreciation, but the constant questioning. So in the vein of it being National Ag Day and being able to celebrate the wonderful business that we are blessed to work in, why do you think we should celebrate agriculture, Jolene?
You know, someone asked me in a radio interview, they said, I see by your biography that you were raised on a farm. And I said, well, actually, the farm raised me. The farm raised you, Michele. It's raising it's raising my neighbors, but it's raising the people who go to the grocery store too. And to expect other people to have the same appreciation for what we do down home, it's not going to happen. But you know what? We can appreciate it. We can appreciate each other, and we can listen to their stories. And you are so astute at making sure we connect the farm gate to the consumer plate and everything in between. But sometimes you get to the consumer plate and they throw it out, or they don't like it, or they question it. And sometimes they just understand that's their story. I mean, I've learned there's people that I can communicate all day long. I can listen all day long, and it's not going to make any difference. So I just say, you know, that's your opinion. Or here's a good one. I say, you know, you might be right. I could have said you might be wrong, but I didn't. And then I changed the subject. So why do we need to appreciate? It's because we are putting in blood, sweat, tears, and years into a passion and a purpose that means so very much to us. We have other people who feel that same way, and we need to get together, whether it's the neighbors where we're sitting on the end gate of the pickup again, or whether it's dropping off a treat, or whether it's helping as a surprise of something that can't be acknowledged back to you. There's so many things that we can do. So appreciation and celebration is extremely important. We need to pause to applaud, to get off of that wheel. And farmers are so good at production. We're good at weeds and seeds and breeds and feeds and money, machinery, and marketing, but it's the people that do all the production. And I want to get back to an important point before it's time for us to leave. And that means we've got to come back to personal. How are you doing?
Yeah.
How am I doing?
Yeah.
And I have found that I need to have some boundaries for self-preservation when it comes to stress, when it comes to expectations and responsibility. And with that, it's one thing, I would like to address the women in agriculture, because we try so often to be the barometer. We're the peacemaker of everything that goes on. We allow things to be dumped on us, rather than sometimes we're the one who causes the war, because we don't put the problem back on those who can actually solve it, and we continue to keep it. So dealing with conflict, having personal boundaries, understand what are the boundaries of your sister, of your daughters-in-law or your sons-in-law. What is the boundaries of your employees? And understanding, again, clarity is key when we want to manage our stress. So we don't have to walk this process alone. In agriculture, we're fiercely independent. And that sometimes has led to some depression and anxiety and isolation. It has led to some sadness. And mental health is health.
Mm-hmm.
We're taking care of everything else. Make sure that you take care of you in the process. I used to say you can only give to others that which is inside of you to give. I don't believe that anymore. I think sometimes the way you put something inside of you is by giving to others. And I think at this National Ag Day and this National Ag Week, there's no time better than to feel renewed, refreshed, or restored. And if not, to reach out to a sister or brother in agriculture and tell them your story.
Well, in the vein of appreciation, Jolene, know that I appreciate you, as does all of agriculture. And I just want to echo what Jolene says. Mental health in agriculture is a pretty unique problem because so much of our identity is wrapped up in what we do rather than who we are. And quite frankly, life is bigger than your farm. It's bigger than your agribusiness. And it does need to be more about your humanity. So my hope is that this has provided you with some great ways to manage the stress of family business, to manage the stress of family business communications, because we know it's not easy. And I am so excited to announce Jolene was actually one of the first people that heard about the idea of having an agriculture growth calendar, and she will be contributing to that, many of the nuggets that you heard today. And so I'm super excited. I hate to sound that way, but I am super excited to bring 52 weeks of ideas and inspiration to help the people of agriculture manage stress, Jolene. So thank you for being a part of that adventure with me.
And thank you for the gift of value, the gift of joy, the gift of appreciation. And it is so much more than just flipping a little calendar to see what it is. It is the insight and perspective and the tips and the tools to help us make today and tomorrow even just a bit better.
Yes, and that's the hope today on National Agriculture Day, is that we can show more compassion to the people who raise our food. And Jolene, if people want to get hold of you, get in touch with you, what's the best way to do that?
JoleneBrown.com, Jolene Brown.com. And by the way, I've told you before, if you just type in Jolene Brown, you either get a pole dancer or you get me. But the good news is I'm high up on the search optimization. So you're going to see my name in a lot of things. And then please be vulnerable enough to just sit at with your phone, or just look at some of the YouTube videos that I have on family business. And Michele, you have so much that will help us get the clarity and the perspective and the joy back in what we do.
Exactly. Raising food is a privilege. Caring for animals is a privilege. Feeding people is a privilege. And Jolene, you certainly have provided some great tips to people, even from the pole dancer's perspective on that. So thank you again. Thanks to everyone who has joined us. Feel free to post questions if you're seeing this video after the live stream, and Jolene and I will make sure that we answer them. Happy National Agriculture Day, everyone, and may you celebrate where your food comes from and the people behind it. Thank you.